Roles and responsibilities of media systems, normative media theories. Normative media theories are performance-based theories on the way in which the media system should operate, and particularly at an ethical level. At the macro level, we have normative media theories in the way that the media system should perform nationally, particularly in relationship to our democratic ideals. Is it is it adhering to them? Is it doing a good job? Then at the micro level, this is the level of the daily media practitioner. These are the professional practices. This is the ethical level, whether we're talking about a newspaper journalist, a blogger, an internet blogger, a filmmaker. This is where ethical and performance theories are put into practice. The U.S. media system, we have two dominant normative theories that comprise our media system. The first is libertarianism of the marketplace of ideas. Um, and this is that media content should be free of government or elite controls. And the roots of libertarian thought really go back to Milton's self-righting principle. The idea in a fair debate where all ideas can come out, that good and truthful ideas will win out over deceptive and bad ideas. The media is perceived as sort of a self-regulating marketplace of ideas. Ideas are coming out there. The citizen consumer chooses and buys the best ideas. Irresponsible media producers will go bankrupt and fail, particularly within this marketplace of ideas. Advantages of libertarianism is it limits government control over the media, and it places a strong trust in the consumer citizen. Some disadvantages is that most media come bundled together. If you think about, like, for instance, a magazine is made up of a lot of different editorial content from a lot of different writers. It also includes advertising. Almost every other page in most consumer magazines has some type of advertising. It's hard to separate out all this content here. And the same thing with commercial network television or cable television in terms of the ad, and probably the same thing with the internet in terms of when you go on an internet commercial site, there's the banner advertising, there's lots of different editorial content. So it's hard to sort of separate that out to say that you're making your rational choice. I think the other thing is it might be libertarianism might be a little too optimistic in terms of the public's ability to make rational media choices. Certainly, when we sometimes consume news or watch a news story or read a news story in a newspaper, we might assess it rationally, but do we always partake of media in a rational manner? I know I don't always. If it's late night television, I may just kind of put something on entertainment. But this model libertarianism would say that I'm making a rational choice then. So, um, we need to think about the way in which people really do consume media. Social responsibility theory is a theory very much connected with the mainstream news media, whether we're talking about the network news, we're talking about newspapers like the Portland Press Herald, we're talking about news magazines like Time Magazine, we're talking about CNN. Uh, the idea behind the social responsibility theory is the media have certain public obligations, that they're responsible to the public as well as to the consumer. Um, in 1947, there was a commission report that really focused on the importance of the press and mainstream journalism for American democracy. And it said that press coverage should be fair, optimistic, and accurate. It also discussed the way in which the press has a watchdog role over government. Uh, it really provides information for its citizens about what's happening in government and government policy. Also overlooks the marketplace with business. The idea of social responsibility theory is that it should also promote a multiplicity of voices or cultural pluralism, and also the idea that it's at some level it's promoting this idea of great communities within American society. How well has social responsibility theory worked? Well, some critics point out that the balancing strategy that's used by the news media of opposing sides like liberal versus conservative had become very routinized, and it's almost done as almost a way of uh, moving on in particular issues to say, okay, here's the left side, here's the right side, when there certainly could be other aspects to it. Objectivity has been criticized for an over reliance of official sources, which means the sources in terms of government officials, spokespeople. Um, some critics say that they point to Senator McCarthy and the blacklisting that took place in the early 1950s and the way in which news media, which is following objectivity, really didn't, because it was relying on information from official sources, really didn't question some of the big lies that McCarthy was telling, and they point to the fact that objectivity sort of failed. Also, other people say sometimes that the reporters kind of hide behind objectivity, um, and it can be used even to hide reporter bias. The other thing is because most mainstream media is advertising supported, it tends to serve middle class consumers and interests. And it doesn't necessarily serve the interest of working class or lower class citizens. And so it doesn't promote that cultural pluralism that's important to a democracy. The US media system, if we think about it, is really a mixture of social responsibility and libertarianism. The mainstream press, news media like New York Times, CBS, NBC, the Portland Press Herald, mainly adhere to social responsibility theory. Uh, but we also have, particularly in entertainment industries, we have libertarianism. Hollywood film studios say that they pretty much are giving the public what they want. The video game industry, recorded music, tabloid press, they usually fall back on, if they're facing criticism, they fall back on this marketplace of ideas and say they're just putting these out there, and if people didn't want them, they didn't like it, then they wouldn't be buying it, and that's the sort of argument is libertarianism. There are some other normative theories that are out there. One is civic journalism, which was really big in particularly in the 1990s. It's kind of lost some. Um, there's been some criticism of it. Matter of fact, when I moved here from State College in Pennsylvania, the newspaper there was very much following civic journalism. And when I got here in 2001, Portland Press Herald was very much in following the tenets of civic journalism, which means that they really engage the community in the reporting process. They go out and they talk to different communities. They try to get a greater voice, um, within the citizenry. They try to go beyond just official sources in their reporting. The other theory is democratic participant, and this is mainly a theory connected mostly with Western European countries, particularly Germany. This is where the government supports certain media outlets that are run by groups. These could be environmental group, political group, and they're free from market pressures and advertising demands and such. Do we have this in the United States? Well, one could say PBS, Public Broadcasting System, and National Public Radio, which are government sponsored and some and subscriber supportive, they do get out a little more of a various different voices out there. It isn't quite the same thing. Um, we also have, this is more in terms of cable television, but there is a community access channel which is sort of opened up for various different community groups that want to put on a production and be part of, get their voice out there. So we have a little bit of this in the United States, but it's mostly Democratic participant is mainly followed in Western Europe. Okay, that's the end of this presentation.